Good morning, everybody. This is Eureka John with Eureka Street Crypto Hub, broadcasting live from Leander, Texas, at 7:44 in the morning on June 19th, 2021. This is a late broadcast for me. I normally don't ever broadcast later than 7 o'clock, but normally between 5:30 or 5:15 and 6:30. But it is Saturday. I don't have my commute. I don't have to go to work. I was going to have a guest on today, and I was waiting on the guest, but I guess something comes up, or he looks to be asleep in his Discord. So here I am. Doesn't always work out, and that's fine, and we'll find another time. And so it's just me today, just like always. Here every single morning. Since February 6th, I've been doing this every single morning. And then since October 24th, 2020, I've been broadcasting through Theta Network here, kind of basically documenting and video blogging my exploration of cryptocurrency. And that's what this is. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm not here to be your teacher or to be your financial advisor or anything like that. I'm just looking at news and learning about crypto, and you're along for the ride with me. So I may be right about some things, may be wrong about some things, and it's just what it is. I'm not paid by anybody or shilling anything. I'm just doing my deal, man. So let's see here. Let's go over to CoinGecko, and let me refresh this page and see what kind of shenanigans we got going on the crypto market today. All right, Bitcoin 36,189.08, still rolling sideways. It's been kind of a doldrum market, just kind of like humdrum, moving along. It's actually, the stability is not so bad, especially for a guy my age too. We tend to, once you get past 40, you start liking more stable markets, and stability. I like stability. Yes, stability is fun. And so I'm all right with this kind of sideways movement and where it's going. And what this is doing too is probably giving developers a lot of time to really focus on doing things like coding and creating new products and all that stuff, while everything's just kind of moving sideways and things are, this relative calm before the storm. Hopefully the storm won't be too terrible, or I don't know, but I'm all right with this is basically what I'm trying to say. Ethereum, $2,254.27. Tether, $1. Tether's a stable coin. Binance Coin, $341.94. Cardano, $1.43. The Doge down to 29 cents. I haven't seen it hit the 20s in quite a while, so it's all right. I'm not attached to the Doge coin. I think Elon Musk has been pretty quiet, so Doge is losing some of its pizzazz. XRP 79 cents, USDC, another stable coin, 99 cents. I wonder why Tether's $1 and USDC is 99 cents. I know Tether stable coins vary slightly depending on whether or not people in the market are buying or selling. And I've explained the stable coins kind of like the side of the pool, the neighborhood swimming pool, and you play around in the pool for a while, and when you get tired you get out, and that's kind of what stable coins are. They represent you getting out of the pool in order to just kind of sit for a while and take a break. So I wonder why one stable coin is higher than $1 and one's lower. So I don't know, man. Polkadot 2107, Bitcoin Cash 576.25, Uniswap 2075. Litecoin 159.42, Solana 336.43. I still need to buy some Solana. I haven't bought any Solana. Then another stable coin, Chainlink 2163. Theta and T-Fuel, two of the only coins that are. They've stayed relatively stable as well, between like $8 and $10 here, and then T-Fuel. T-Fuel's actually been doing a lot of things here. It's up at 60 cents, up 26.2% in the past 7 days. They just got a lot of stuff going on and developing with it. And June 30th here, just a few days now, Theta 3.0 is getting ready to come out. You'll get 35% returns on staking T-Fuel, so around there. So yeah, watch out for what Theta's going to do. And then Quant Network. I know I talked about this a couple days ago. Where is Quant Network? That's another one that's been jumping up regardless of what everybody else has been doing. And it's right here, up 50.5% in the past 7 days. I'm glad that I bought some quant pretty early on. That's basically the overledger. And you don't see a lot of major influencers talking about quant coin. It is kind of a banker's coin, kind of like XRP and Stellar and stuff like that. But it's used as a system to provide interoperability through an overledger, through blockchains, and it allows basically different large institutions and banking institutions to be able to have their blockchains be able to talk back and forth to break down those silos in order for large institutions to be able to transact and interact back and forth. So, and it also has a really low supply, max supply of 14,612,493. And so when you look at that low supply and you look at the capabilities of what this token can do, it was an easy buy for me, and I bought as much as I can with my paltry money supply. So so if you're thinking about looking into something that could be profitable, I think 76.37 is actually still pretty low for this one. So, especially given its max supply, so, and it has good fundamentals too. So I'm always looking at fundamentals. Oh, okay. So I got that out of the way. Some of the basic pricing. Today I was just kind of looking through some articles, and as some of you may know, I do have a seminary background, so I think a lot of times in terms of philosophy and religion and theology, and I was thinking about Bitcoin and a lot of people's enthusiasm for it. And then there's this broadcast, I'll post all these articles in the show notes, but there's an NPR, and I don't normally listen to NPR very much, but they did on February 18th, 2021, and this is right during a major spike in Bitcoin's value, up to I believe over 50,000. And so they come up with Bitcoin their religion. So suddenly Bitcoin hits all its valuation, and people are starting to compare Bitcoin to religion. And of course that piques my interest. I love that type of stuff. So on here, February 16th, the price of one Bitcoin climbed above $50,000 for the first time ever. A year earlier, Bitcoin was priced at less than $10,000. The rise was baffling, but then Bitcoin has been baffling people since its inception 12 years ago. As a currency, Bitcoin is not backed by any government or even any commodity. Its value derived entirely from the continued faith that people who own Bitcoin have in its future. With the sometimes fanatical devotion of its followers, its mysterious creators, its rituals, and its holidays, Bitcoin looks a lot like a religion. And they discuss this in this 9-minute podcast episode. It's a pretty easy it's a pretty easy listen. So give it a shot. Like I said, I'll put the link in here. There's been a few articles. I couldn't honestly find too much about this, but I have a lot of ideas about it. I have the white paper up there hanging framed on my wall next to the first issue of Bitcoin magazine. So yes, in a way, I am kind of treating it as a sacred text, and then I have the the Declaration of Independence. Well, let me see if you can see the Declaration of Independence right there. So you can see it's kind of a sacred text in a way, and the white paper is basically a Declaration of Independence. So when you think about it that way, and you think of the people that had been what they called orange pilled, and they realized that Bitcoin and a lot of these other DeFi can take away the intermediary, and it can remove the veil. And back in the days of the early Jewish religion, and whenever Christianity was first formed, when Jesus came about, he tore the veil between the old and the new. And the Old Testament was engraved in stone, and it was external. And Jesus's teachings were that you have inside you the power of God, and tore the veil between the inner and the outer. And here, in a way, we're having a tearing of veils going on between the institutional and the centralized and the decentralized power that is within everybody, and people in the financial work, energy, and power that is encapsulated and the blocks of the blockchain and stored energy, stored work energy. So yeah, um, let's see here. So I like this meme here. Our Father who art in hiding, Satoshi be thy name, thy Bitcoin come, thy will be done. That in finance as it is in blockchain, give us this day our next block and protect our network as we protect our private keys and lead us not into inflation, but deliver us from fiat. For thine is thy blockchain and the power and the memes forever. Amen. So anyway, yeah, let's see here. Um, so let's read here. After hitting an all-time high of nearly 42,000, Bitcoin fell all the way to around 30,000 and is now back around 35,000. The drastic shifts illustrate Bitcoin's volatility and suggest that investors should hold on tight for what could be a turbulent ride. While it's always hard to pinpoint the cause for Bitcoin's price moves, the cryptocurrency has gained more than 300% in 2020. Anyone I talk to doesn't think that it's ever going to go back to 5,000 where it was a year ago. When was this article written? Okay, so it's January 18th. In March 2020, when the coronavirus pandemic swept the globe, it was around 3,300. It's a roller coaster, but then again, what's been better than Bitcoin? Elias Louis Hatzis, the founder and CEO of Kryptonio, a keyless that's just a commercial. Oh my god, yeah. Commercials all right. When Bitcoin was invented, very few people thought it was worth a second thought. In June of 2009, Bitcoin was worth 0.0001 cent. It was a virtual currency that existed for those that were technologically advanced enough to understand it. Initially, Bitcoin had a limited appeal in terms of an exchange of value beyond the tech geek community. It had been idiosyncratically used for buying pizza and alpaca socks. Alpaca socks. Yeah. Today, Bitcoin is a lot more. It's not just about a bunch of people who believe cryptocurrency is a good investment and hedge against the dollar. For many, Bitcoin has the power to transform society and truly change how we understand and use money. Earlier in this article on Bloomberg, Joe Weisenthal posted that Bitcoin is the first new religion of the 21st century. He argued that it has a prophet, immaculate conception, sacred texts, early disciples, schisms, hatred towards non-believers, the promised land, good versus evil, and all the makings of religion. And here's his tweet here, and he links to an article, and I did find the article right here on Bloomberg. And so luckily it's not behind a paywall. And then here he goes and writes down all these specific points. Bitcoin is the first true religion of the 21st century. People sometimes call Bitcoin a religion pejoratively as a way to sneer at its disciples, or they call it a cult, or they just use religion in quotes to imply that the whole thing is irrational. But I mean it with no judgment one way or another. That's literally just a religion. There's plenty of evidence for it. It has a prophet, Satoshi, who's not only never been identified, but who has apparently departed the world. Not only is there a prophet, Satoshi was apparently in it for the benefit of all mankind. There's no evidence that Satoshi ever sold a single coin. Bitcoin's first block was called the Genesis block. Bitcoin has a sacred text, the white paper, as a short 9-page document that still gets passed around in printed form like Gideon's Bible. And as you can see, it's right up there above my head. Bitcoin has original saints and apostles. Early figures like Hal Finney, who spoke with Satoshi, are revered in the community for their forward vision and role in establishing the faith. Finney was the recipient of the first Bitcoin transaction. Bitcoin has its own Talmud-like text. The early Bitcoin.org message boards are still studied today, where the first users discovered the endeavor and analyzed today in order to help guide the community. And let's see here. May 22nd, Bitcoiners remember a famous transaction where someone spent 10,000 Bitcoin on 2 pizzas. Meanwhile, every 4 years, Bitcoiners celebrate the halving, with the pace of new Bitcoin issuance gets cut in half. And there's other holidays too. So yesterday, Proof of Keys Day, for example. And then let me think. Have there been other ones? There's always the halving, and they do the countdown for that, and that is definitely kind of holiday-ish in a way. I know I can think of some others, but I will. Dietary customs. Many of the most orthodox Bitcoiners adhere to a diet of strictly eating meat. I have not heard that, but where does this link go to? Let's just check it out. What is he referring to? On Vice. All right, let's see what Vice has to say. Disputed claims to the crown. Some people claim Satoshi Nakamoto, engendering huge controversy. Oh, some people have claimed to be Satoshi Nakamoto. Yeah, and there is. People have claimed Sergey Nazarov of Chainlink. They've claimed Elon Musk. Of course, Hal Finney. There's a lot of people that they claim are Satoshi Nakamoto, and some are reasonable and others are not. So, disputed claims to the crown. Some people have claimed to be Satoshi. Okay, schisms, just like with any religion, there have been breakaway attempts with disciples branching out on their own, dividing the community, a la the creation of Bitcoin Cash in 2017. Fury at apostasy. While Bitcoiners are resentful of people who aren't part of the faith, aka no coiners, they hold particular contempt apostates who abandon ship as part of a rage quit. Okay, but they also all have a lot of fury towards what they call shitcoiners, and that would include me, I guess, because I believe that there are other projects out there besides Bitcoin that can provide value. I think Ethereum provides a lot of value as an Ethereum virtual machine that allows smart contracts and decentralized finance, because Bitcoin has not really found an answer to decentralized finance. Yes, there's some basic smart contract compatibility. They have block stacks. You can wrap your Bitcoin and put it on the Ethereum blockchain, but it's basically a store of value. That's it, And decentralized finance is, to me, a next step in the evolution of the process that allows people to be their own bank and to be bankless and to get around and circumvent the system. I do think there is some kind of evolution that needs to be acknowledged here. Bitcoin is a huge store of value. It is a store of work energy, and that does not need any intermediary or priests and apostles and anything like that. It just needs itself, and that's it. And your human contact direct with that divine work energy that we create as human beings, that we create with our passion and our efforts and our sweat and everything like that. And I think that is what is stored. It is proof of work. And people say proof of work versus proof of stake. Proof of stake is more energy efficient and all that. But I do find the tenets of proof of work more attractive. The idea that you can store work energy like a battery and save it for later, and spread it around in the world to be able to allow other people to use this proof of work energy that has been stored. Proof of stake is not quite proof of work energy. I mean, it is good in another way as well, and it has many of the pros and many different types of pros. But I don't know, there's just something about proof of work to me that just rings more true, I guess. I don't understand why. What's up, 29LH06? Morning, top of the morning to you. It's daylight for once. It's not dark, and so it's different for me broadcasting this morning. Yeah. And let's see here. Apostles, I'm talking about the way that people look at Bitcoin and cryptocurrency like a religion this morning. Apostles, prophets, holidays, dietary customs, sacred texts, schisms, sayings, and more. Bitcoin isn't like a religion. This is just what a religion is. So anyway, that's the article on Bloomberg that talks about that. Let's see who Joe Weisenthal is. His Twitter account here. I guess he's just some kind of famous, or semi-famous or whatever monetary. Oh, he's a podcast dude on Bloomberg. So, all right. Anyway, so here, and then I started looking into some articles about like Jesus Christ and Satoshi Nakamoto, and I constantly, whenever I listen to podcasts, people a lot of times start referring to, the whole idea of Satoshi being this Jesus-like figure, bringing in, a new era, ushering in a new faith and all that stuff, and from there it got me looking into, okay, well, what exactly is decentralization? And I have something here. This looks pretty official, like some kind of World Bank type of document, and they're outlining in detail all the different types of decentralization. So if you're interested in decentralization, they have it for you. They even go down here to find the appropriate forms of decentralization, what that looks like in the eyes of the World Bank. So If you want to kind of get an insight into that, you can read this argument. You can read this article here. Under appropriate conditions, all these forms of decentralization can play important roles in broadening participation in political, economic, and social activities in developing countries. Where it works effectively, decentralization helps alleviate the bottlenecks in decision making that are often caused by central government planning and control of important economic and social activities. Decentralization can help cut the bureaucratic procedures and can increase government officials' sensitivity to local conditions and needs. Moreover, decentralization can help national government ministries reach larger numbers of local areas with services, allow greater political representation for diverse political, ethnic, religious, and cultural groups in decision making, and relieve top managers in certain ministries of routine tasks to concentrate on policies. In some countries, decentralization may create a geographical focus at the focal level for coordinating national, state, provincial, district, and local programs more effectively, and can provide better opportunities for participation by local residents in decision making. Decentralization may lead to more creative, innovative, and responsive programs by allowing people experimentation, and it can also increase political stability and national unity by allowing citizens better control public programs at the local level. And I fully believe in that. I keep referring a lot of times back to this article here, where it talks about the legibility, and here this article here is called it's about stable coins, and I did a show about stable coins one time a while back, fighting to be stable, the evolution of stable coins, and it just talks about the different stages of stable coins here. But then they go down here and they start talking about cash, and let's see here. Let's get to where it is. Okay, cash with all its anonymity and unaccountability. So what about it? Cash decreases the legibility of the economy right here. And this keyword legibility, and I've gone down a rabbit hole on what this legibility is. And accordingly, it is the enemy of the state. If cash didn't already exist, governments would never allow its reinvention. FinCEN's recently proposed rules requiring exchanges to report name and home address to transfers to unhosted wallets all but confirms this. Okay, so what's legibility? All right. Legibility. So, legibility right here, a big little idea called legibility. This article is amazing, and I want to read all these books that this person talks about. The authoritarian high modernist recipe for failure, and it talks about what legibility is. All right, so Scott calls the thinking style behind the failure mode authoritarian high modernism, and this is kind of where I see where society is trying to go right now with this great reset that they're trying to do. But we'll see in the failure mode is not limited to the brief intellectual reign of high modernism. It's going on right now. So here's the recipe for the failure of high modernism, authoritarian high modernism. Okay. They look at a complex and confusing reality such as the social dynamics of an old city. So fail to understand all the subtleties and how that complex reality works. Attribute that failure to the irrationality of what you are looking at rather than your own limitations to understand that. Come up with an idealized blank slate vision of what reality ought to look like, hence the Great Reset, and then argue that the relative simplicity and Platonic orderliness of the vision represents rationality. So what they are envisioning how we should live after this Great Reset, and what their vision of orderliness, that represents rationality to them. And then use authoritarian power to impose that vision by demolishing the old reality if necessary. And then watch your rational utopia fail horribly, because that is just exactly what happens whenever authoritarian governments and institutions try to impose what they see as a Platonic orderliness, and and that represents rationality to them, and them trying to use authoritarian power and control to bring that in, because it always fails 100% of the time. The big mistake in this pattern of failure is projecting your subjective lack of comprehension onto the object you are looking at as irrationality. So the people, Klaus Schwab, the people who see society that needs to be formed in the way that they think so, and ushering in this great reset, they look at the world right now and they see it as irrational. It's irrational that we have this population boom. Therefore, we need to control population. We need to cull the herd. This is irrational. What's going on? So we need to figure out a way to control this. And so, to them, it seems perfectly rational that they need to cull the herd, except for themselves, and to save the planet. Because otherwise, how is the planet going to survive this human infestation, right? So I don't necessarily agree with that. To us, we're just a little plague of fleas on the earth, and the earth knows just how to control us. It has always done that and always will. So legibility and control. Central to Scott's thesis is the idea of legibility. He explains how he stumbled across the idea while researching efforts by nation states to settle or sedentarize nomads, pastoralists, gypsies, and other peoples living non-mainstream lives. Here's a quote: "The more I examined these efforts at sedentarization, the more I came to see them as a state's attempt to make a society legible, to arrange the population in ways that simplified the classic state functions of taxation, conscription, and prevention of rebellion. Having begun to think in these terms, I began to see legibility as a central problem in statecraft. The pre-modern state was, in many crucial aspects, particularly blind. It knew precious little about its subjects, their wealth, their land holdings, their yields and location, and their very identity. It lacked anything like a detailed map of its terrain and people. So what these people in control, the bureaucrats, salivate over is the idea to implement surveillance and to be able to have big data come in and be collated and analyzed, and to give them the top-down view of everything that they're looking at in detail to see exactly how they can pull the most out of, with their predatory eyes, a society as far as taxation, conscription, and prevention of rebellion." Anyway, he says, "This book is about a 2 to 3 century long process by which modern states reorganize the societies they govern to make them more legible to the apparatus that governs. The state is not actually interested in the rich functional structure and complex behavior of very organic entities that it governs, and that is indeed a part of rather than above. It merely views them as resources that must be organized in order to yield optimal returns according to a centralized, narrow, and strictly utilitarian logic." So the state does not see us as something that has a rich culture and a functional structure and organic and everything. It just sees us as something to be able to pull resources from for their own use, and they see themselves as above and looking down on us when they don't realize that they are indeed also a part of this organic structure. The attempt to maximize returns need not arise from the grasping greed of a predatory state. In fact, the dynamic is most often driven by a genuine desire to improve the lot of the people on the part of the government with a popular left of center mandate. So it's for the children. It's for your own good. Just trust us. So it's most often driven by a desire to improve the lot of the people on the part of the governments with a popular left of center mandate. Hence the subtitle. What was the subtitle? I don't know. But okay. Alright, so the book begins with an early example: scientific forestry. The early modern state, Germany in this case, was only interested in maximizing tax revenues from forestry. This meant that the acreage yield and market value of a forest had to be measured, and these only obviously relevant variables were comprehended by the statist mental model. Traditional wild and unruly forests were literally illegible to the state surveyor's eyes, and this gave birth to scientific, in quotes, forestry. The gradual transformation of forests with a rich and diversity of species growing wildly and randomly in orderly strands of the highest yielding varieties, the resulting catastrophes, better recognized these days as the problems of monoculture, were inevitable. This picture is not an exception, and the word legibility is not a metaphor. The actual visual textual sense of the word as in readability is what it is meant, readability. The book is full of thought-provoking pictures like this: farmland neatly divided up into squares versus farmland that's confusing to the eye. but conforms to the constraints of local topography, soil quality, and hydrological patterns. Rational and unlivable grid cities like Brasilia versus chaotic and live cities like Sao Paulo. This might explain, by the way, why I resonated so strongly with the book. Okay, the name Ribbon Farm is inspired by the history of the geography of Detroit and its roots in ribbon farms. So, I mean, this whole idea kind of gives me a little more understanding of things like permaculture and things like that, of people trying to navigate through nature and to be able to draw from nature rather than a top-down structure and just imposing, some kind of, in a way, a surveillance viewpoint of trying to draw in a predatory fashion resources. And getting back to the beginning of this podcast and the whole idea of Bitcoin as a religion, and religion to me is the tearing away of the intermediary, the tearing away of centralized control. And that is what a lot of these prophets, the early prophets of a lot of these major religions, have done. They've torn away the centralized structure and they have given the power back to the people. Jesus tore away the idea that truth is set in this stone tablet and in the law of the lawyers and the scribes and everything like that, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees. You had in every other, and then people would fight about this, and they struggled. They were always killed, first of all, and then they struggled afterwards, and they struggled with which one was the proper version of the truth. They struggled with the interpretation of the early texts, and in Jesus's case, people that copied down what they thought he said and the witnesses of it, and it's just. It all comes down to people trying to make sense out of the organic nature of our humanness, and it's this constant tension between the two, organic and structured, legibility versus illegible, and illegible is teeming with life, but human beings, we need to understand and control that somehow, and we fight over it. And so this is Bitcoin, in a way, is taking away the banks, and it's taking away what is creating an organized view of our work energy, and putting I need somebody else here to talk with me about this in order to kind of trigger words that I can't think of, and I can envision the concept in my head, but to take away the levers of control that people can use to manipulate other people. And the banks do that. They steal the work energy away from people in order to use it in a centralized top-down fashion that creates legibility for them, and like this aerial view of Detroit here, to be able to see exactly what's going on and where they can use, and in their way they think they're doing it for the good of society, to be able to allow everybody to optimally use their talents for the good of everybody else. But I spoke about, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I have my process with some things that I do in my office, and they might not be the fastest and they might not be the most efficient, but it's what I know how to do even with my eyes closed. And I get there and I do this particular process with some work that I do, and then I have maybe somebody else come in my office and say, why are you doing it that way? That's very slow, and you could be doing. I was like, okay, yes, I realize that, but I know how to do this in my sleep, and I don't have the time right now allocated to be able to learn a new system. So before I can learn this new system, I need to do this in my sleep to take care of what is immediately needed to be done. And so that, in a way, is like a lot of times what states are trying to do with people's work energy. They're trying to take what works and then add their own view of what they think would be better, when maybe that's not exactly what people want. I mean, I don't know. But I'm out of time. I'm at 34 minutes. This is just the beginning, just the tip of this. I'm going to continue to study this. I'm going to read more on this article. I'm going to read more of these books and talk about what legibility is. and then how Bitcoin can kind of fit in that, and then cryptocurrency in general, and decentralization as well. I want to study in more detail all this idea about decentralization, and then here's what the World Bank thinks about decentralization, and they actually made some good points. So I'll link all these articles, and I'd love some input about what you guys think. If you want to come on and talk with me about this type of stuff, like, I'd be happy to have somebody here to bounce some ideas back and forth with as well. Hey, how you doing, Blamby? This is really interesting. I enjoy your deep philosophical approach. Thanks. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't see a lot of people, get super philosophical. I mean, Robert Breedlove as well. I enjoyed listening to his What is Money podcast. So if you haven't listened to his What is Money podcast with his interview with Michael Saylor, I definitely encourage that as well. He goes into detail about time preference and the store of energy and stuff like that, and that's kind of what got my gears turning about that with Bitcoin. But when I first made the connection when I saw this white paper appear behind me, and then I compared that with the Declaration of Independence over there, and I was just like, yes, this is a lot of the same thing, and I couldn't really put it in words, and I'm working on it still. So, all right. That being said, I will get on to it. I do have a couple guests. I was supposed to have a guest today. I guess he kind of slept in, but we'll possibly have him on another day here soon. And then I have a couple other people talking about wanting to jump on talk about other various different topics. Yeah, I'm getting pretty excited. People are now starting to come forward and wanting to talk about some of the ideas that they have, and I'm glad that I can be a part of encouraging that. And so, anyway, tomorrow's Father's Day, so it's pretty much a national holiday for me since I have small children. So I'm gonna try to be up before they wake up so they can do their deal. And so it's like my daughter said, it's like another birthday. Yeah, that's fine. I'll take it, man. All right, well, I will talk to you guys later.